Greetings, everybody. Welcome to episode number 7.
Yes, the name is Bond 007.
Of 1 Degree of Scandalous with Cato Kalin and Tom Zenner. Thanks so much for joining us. So excited to be here. We've got a great show lineup. Cato, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited about the show, and I'll tell you why. Because I watched this documentary that we're going to talk about with Benita, and it blew me away.
I know,
and it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, well, our last episode was with Tom Lang, and so many people have stopped and talked to me about that, how compelling he was, and just the drama and the way his storytelling ability is just so superb. And I think we're gonna have another episode like this today.
And with Tom Lang in mind, I think it's great that everybody relates the O.J. Simpson to that, but Tom's history of different from the Hillside Strangler to the Night Stalker case. It's this, his resume of, I guess, death is amazing.
Well, he's like a walking encyclopedia of major crime stories here in LA. So if you hadn't had a chance to listen to that one, go back and listen to all our episodes. Make sure you download, subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, of course, and of course, watch on YouTube too, because some of this stuff is so fascinating and visual, etc. So we want to make sure that you're watching this as well.
Not to mention that you have a great hair day usually on YouTube.
I try my best. Cato, you always have a great hair day.
Well, just today.
How's everything else in life? I know I ask you every week, but what are we about? Almost 2 months into our marriage, too.
No, lots of traveling going on. So I'm heading out to MC a huge event. I'll be doing this the cast of a show called Outlander. It's on Starz, the sixth season, going to the 7th season, and the fan base is amazing, especially for women. They love this Sam Heughan. Oh, yeah. And then I'm doing, of course, Ice Wars, which I'm producing. Number 2, and Ice Wars is pretty amazing. If anybody wants to check out Ice Wars, of course, Instagram, it's prize fighting with hockey players on ice.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's a sport where you have to know how to skate and fight.
Full uniform.
It's gone to another level.
Has it?
People, millions and millions of views. So
that's great.
Very, very happy.
Well, congratulations, and that thing's just going to continue to grow and grow. It's literally MMA fighting on ice between hockey enforcers, essentially. Guys that have made their living fighting, and now they could do it again with prize money at stake. Unbelievable.
A king of the rink will be named a king of the rink.
All right, everything else good?
Yeah.
Summer's off and running. I hope everybody's having a great summer. So last week, I was taking a little break in the middle of the day, and I was just flipping through on Hulu looking for something, and I stumbled on this documentary, right? And it was called He Lied About Everything, and that sucked me in immediately. I got to get to know this character. I mean, everything. And I wanted to just watch a few minutes of it, right? And I could not stop watching it. And you know what, Cato, it just goes to show, clearly we're going to cover the biggest scandals that everybody's heard of, right? Johnny Depp, we've already done. OJ, we're all over that one. Ariana Grande, and the list that we have coming up is going to be unbelievable. But there's scandal everywhere. And it's so, some of it is just so outrageous and so over the top that it's unbelievable when you peel the onion back a little bit and the layers that are involved in here. What some people have to endure and what some people try to get away with. Unbelievable.
Right. The amazing part, and I'm the same way with you. I was on the Stairmaster, and I said, I'm going to watch this documentary. I did level 15. That's how pumped I was. I was pumping my legs. Oh my! The thing about this, and we're going to find out more, is how he conned everybody. And I'm talking about the Lancet, a major medical magazine where almost everything is taken from.
Unbelievable.
It's truth.
Right.
But this character, like I said, we're going to find out because it's so compelling, lied and got away with it.
And the level of lies, and we're going to learn all about it today. So the name of the show is called He Lied About Everything. It's about a doctor, a famous doctor, a renowned surgeon named Paolo Macchiarini. Okay, Macchiarini, not the Macarena.
Yeah, okay.
Macchiarini, and an incredible journalist for NBC named Benita Alexander, who I was just so compelled by watching her and how unbelievable she was able to tell her story and how brave and powerful, and we're going to hear all about it. So what do you say we welcome her into the show?
I would love that.
Benita, thank you so much for joining us.
Than's for having me.
Hi, Benita. And by the way, blue is your color.
Thank you.
Looking good. I bet you've done a few interviews, a few Zooms out of that room lately, huh?
Just a few, yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do first, Benita. Let's play the trailer. Okay, so people can hear this and understand, and they can see this on YouTube. And it's a few minutes. It's going to give you a little bit of the backstory of everything. So let's play that, and we'll be back right after this.
That's me, Benita.
look at you too. Wait, where's the light?
I don't know.
And that voice with the Italian accent, that's Paolo.
Oh my God.
He was always filming me.
Some of those are too.
Yes.
Love you.
He was the most romantic man I'd ever met. He made me happier than I'd ever been.
You're my everything.
Fancy restaurants,
Wow.
endless surprises,
Oh my God. I want to know where I'm going.
trips all over the world.
On the way to Venice. On the boat.
He adored me. And he was a world-renowned scientist and surgeon. He promised me and my daughter a brand new life. This was going to be our new home.
This is the place where you and I will live for the rest of our life.
And this was our sailboat.
I wish you were here. I love you, Benita. So much.
His proposal was so sweet.
Oh my God.
I had a fairy tale dress made just for me by a couture designer.
Is there going to be a lot of Italian family there? Are they very like traditional?
You should probably just let me tell you everything.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, we're getting married by the Pope.
I know, the Pope. But Paolo was the Pope's private doctor, and he told everybody that the Vatican wanted to thank him. So we had this jaw-dropping guest list. These are the actual invitations that went out in the mail. It was like the wedding of the century. And why not? He was the surgeon of the century. I'm an investigative television producer. I even put together this 2-hour special about him.
Tonight, a special report about what could be the next big breakthrough in medicine.
And it got nominated for an Emmy.
I love you, my love.
My life was bliss.
Come on, turn it off, please. Please.
But if this all seems too good to be true, well, 1 month before our wedding,
The beautiful bride and the groom.
And the wedding of a lifetime.
it all started to come apart. Allegations of Frankenstein human experiments, phony medical credentials, even manslaughter charges. Could my love really be the biggest lie in medical history? What did that make us?
No wedding planner ever called you or came in here to talk to you?
No.
You didn't have a private wedding brunch plan?
I didn't know what to believe. So I put on a disguise and went to that house that was supposed to be mine. What I found would change everything.
Kato, unbelievable.
Yeah, like I said, unbelievable.
When you watch that.
Yeah, and I'm so upset. I get upset about this, of what this guy did, and not just to Benita, which of course was horrible in itself, but to Benita's daughter and her friends, and like I said, Benita's going to explain all this.
Yeah, Benita, it's almost like, where do we start with this thing? But you were a very successful journalist for many, many years. No one's going to be more guarded or have their radar up more than somebody like you. I mean, it's internal. It's in your DNA. That's what you do.
Right.
But you described this guy, Paolo, as having almost this charisma, this otherworldly type of charisma. Had you seen that in anyone before you met him? Was it truly off the charts?
Not like this. I mean, there are people like that who just have this charismatic thing. You know, you walk into a room and everybody's kind of instantly drawn to them. And he's got that magnetism. There's this thing about him. He's very charming, very good looking. You know, he's got this soft, sultry voice, and he's Italian. He dresses really well. And he definitely has that, magnetic charisma. And people are just drawn to it. And he's very intriguing.
So, being an investigative journalist, I imagine everything sort of kicks in for you immediately when you meet somebody. I mean, you have to make you make a judgment. Now, aren't you making a judgment about this character right away? Or is it turned off because his so charismatic? But being a journalist, were there just anything going on in your head like, I don't know if I trust this guy, or I like this guy so much?
At the beginning, when I met him, he was sort of at the height of his career. His nickname was literally the super surgeon. I mean, he was doing something that literally nobody else in the world was doing. And he was this groundbreaking kind of pioneer, this rebel who was willing to push the boundaries of medicine in ways that nobody else would and take risks that nobody else would. And in the name of, ostensibly, helping people and pushing medicine forward and, doing things that nobody else would do, so that it seemed like he was very altruistic. And we need people like that in medicine. I mean, things don't change, things don't move forward if we don't have people like that. So, and people were clamoring at his feet. He worked at the place that awards the Nobel Prize in medicine.
Right.
He worked all over the world, and he was a little bit intimidating, but also very, very intriguing. I mean, here was this man who just seemed so caring and so giving and so talented and wanted to help patients and wanted to help mankind. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he was very interesting.
Sure. I'm sure you initially, had your guard up like you would with anybody, but he had the ultimate cover, right? If you are a professor where they hand out the Nobel Peace Prize, that's scoreboard, right? I mean, you're going to believe that something he's fooled some other people then. And then he's doing this experimental surgery where people that it's life or death for them, where they need a new trachea, right? Where they're going to die without it. And he comes in as a knight in shining armor, right? With his little plastic apparatus that you would, find at the convenience store. It looks like a Pepsi bottle, to be honest with you. Yeah. And he's saving people's lives. He's preying on their hope, right? Yeah. And he's taking advantage of that. And I think he was able to get away with that with these people. It's experimental. They're willing to try anything. But it's the last hope for them, right? The last chance to save a life.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, basically, he was replacing the windpipe, the trachea, with a plastic tube that was bathed in the patient's own stem cells. And the idea was that the stem cells would integrate into this tube and magically, sort of integrate into the body. And so it was the equivalent of going to a drugstore and, you've got a failing organ, you lose a body part, you just go pick up a new one at the drugstore. This is where this field was headed. And so the promise of this was huge, right? I mean, if we could do that, if you could just replace an organ by making one out of plastic in your stem cells, I mean, the whole game changes, right? And so there was so much hope and promise attached to this. And he was dealing with patients who were desperate, who in theory were at death's door. At least that's what he claims. And had no hope left. And he comes across as, I am your only hope, I'm the end. I'm the only hope you have of living. And so, of course, he's preying on their vulnerability, and they did whatever he told them to do.
So I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, if we can do this big. So when I was watching the documentary, I kept saying, okay, this guy, like I said, wow, every news story was about him being the super surgeon. But then I started thinking, didn't anybody from any medical professional say, has he ever tested this? This is what blew me away. Has it ever been tested on any animal? Has it ever been tested? And nobody seemed to even ask. And that's what I couldn't figure out, of how even a patient, with the parents or the spouse is going, has it been proven? Is there anything that we can to find out what it is? But everybody believed this guy.
They probably didn't want to know the answer,
Well, also he lied. Let's not forget that. He claimed that he had done this on pigs, and that it had worked. I'm jumping ahead now, but we would later find out that there were no damn experiments of any kind. Yeah. And he literally used his patients as human guinea pigs. But he claimed that he had done this on pigs and on rats. And the problem was nobody dug to check, because here's this guy that, works at the place that awards the Nobel Prize in medicine. He was rumored to be in contention for a Nobel Prize himself, So I think that was one of the problems. He'd gotten to this point in his career that everybody just assumed he was telling the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah, what the hell would he have done if he won a Nobel Peace Prize? Holy crap.
And
you've told people.
Exactly. And you're so successful what you were doing. You had a group of friends, you had other journalists, but you had a great base of friends. At that time, when you are in the courtship, did you have that one friend? I know that I do, that always says, I don't know, I don't buy this. You better be careful, but I'm sure you're so in love. It's like, well, she's so jealous. And did you have that one friend that always said, Benita, be careful?
No, in hindsight, and I had a few that came out after the fact, but when so we fell in love and we were together for 2 years and then we were supposed to get married, and everybody was so enamored with him and enamored with us. I mean, it was like a fairy tale, which maybe should have been my first clue because there is no such thing. But we were going on these magical romantic trips. It was like romance on steroids. And all my friends, male, female, gay, straight, were all, sort of hanging on the edge of their seats every time we went on a trip. What did he do this time? What happened? I'm so jealous. How do I get one of him? Does he have a brother? And he charmed everybody, my friends, my family, my daughter. He just has that capability. There were a couple of people I found out after the fact that were slightly skeptical. Mostly men, which is interesting. But they didn't know. It's not like they knew he was a fraud or a fake. They just got some kind of weird vibe from him and thought something's a little off, but they couldn't place it.
Yeah, it's like an NBA player saying he scores 70 points a game, and I also score 3 touchdowns a game in the NFL. It's hanging there on the surface where you're going, I don't know, but then he's got all these credentials and he's done everything. It's what I'm impressed at. What you do is you're able to put yourself back into that relationship and talk positive about this guy that you clearly despise now, that you have to. But you have to do that as far as you're telling the story. Do you think he targeted you? That it was you he was going after, or did he fall in love with you as much as you were in love with him?
This is the subject of much debate amongst my friends and family. Like, did he love me or didn't he? I don't actually know the answer. I don't believe he really did. I personally believe he's a sociopath.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think they are capable of real love. They're very, very good actors. They know how to do exactly what they're supposed to do, what they're supposed to say, but they don't actually feel anything. They have no half human feelings, no empathy, no remorse. But then I have friends who say that man adored you. We sat with him, we watched him, falling at your feet. He was so generous. That's the thing about this guy. He's a con artist, but unlike Tinder swindler and all these other ones that we hear about now, right? They all want money. He didn't want money. The man was so generous, with me, my friends, my family. So then it's like, what the hell was his reason? Why do any of this? Why lie about any of it? I still don't actually really know the answer. That's one of the big money questions. But so maybe he targeted me, but I think the only thing I've have come to really understand is it was all about his ego, right? So he's doing all these things, rose petals on the bed, on the floor, it's romance on overdrive, but it wasn't really for me. It was my reaction, my adoration of him that fed his ego, It's all about, everything was for him, and he's a narcissist, basically.
Can I give you my opinion, what I think it is? This is just my opinion. I think what happened was, my opinion only, I think that he knew you're obviously a journalist. And at one point he said he thought down the line, he's going to be maligned for something. And he's going to go, she's going to help me with positive press. She's the one that's going to help me because I know what is going to happen to me later.
You're right.
They're going to find out I'm a fraud. But Benita, who I love, is going to do a great story on me, and it's going to make everything better again. And I can go back to being the sociopath, the crazy con man, because she helped me out.
I think you're exactly right, because it was towards the end of our relationship that I found out that there were allegations against him of scientific misconduct in Sweden. But he had known about it, right, for much longer than I did. I didn't find out until it was in the damn New York Times, and I was really pissed off. And then when I first found out, I was in the trenches with him, helping him, as any loving fiance would do. I was helping him answer press requests. His English is not that good written, so I was writing responses back to people and press. And so I think you're probably right. He knew it was coming, and he was trying to avoid it, and he was kind of had me in his back pocket.
Sure.
I do think he now is in extreme shock. I don't think I think he vastly underestimated me and never in a million years imagined I'd be doing what I'm doing now. So,
Oh no! And what you did, as a matter of fact, I don't know how you feel, but since I've watched the documentary, I have a gag reflex every time I walk by an Italian restaurant. That's I don't know. How you, I can't even.
I don't even go to them.
I don't. You don't even go to them.
Cato is no longer speaking in Italian as he normally does too.
No.
He's completely stopped doing that.
Scusi, Benita, scusi.
Okay, so let me advance the story on a couple levels. So he's doing these surgeries, these experimental surgeries on a child, on a beautiful woman from Russia, a former model. I think 8 people, give or take 8 total. At this point, I think, all of them have unfortunately passed away, or 7?
7 of 8.
7 of the 8 are dead. The only one that's still alive had the thing taken out.
Right. And so Benita, during this time, they fell in love. And you'll see this during the show. And it was unbelievable. And like she said, it was a fairy tale type courtship on steroids, like beyond anything you can imagine. So it turns out, and we're going to get to this, that what he did was lie about everything, basically. Did he have he had to have this thing bankrolled? Right? Because he was traveling all over the world with you. He was coming to visit you. Now, you found out the engagement ring was fake, so he didn't spend a lot of money on that. But he clearly had money as he's juggling all these other things in his life. So I guess he wasn't broke, right? Or whatever he had, he spent on this con to try to woo you.
I think because he was making money. Obviously, he's a surgeon, and he was working all over the world in many different countries. However, he spent money like it was water, like it was just money was raining from trees. I think he often paid for things with this Russian credit card. He had a very lucrative grant in Russia to do a clinical trial, and that's why some of the patients were operated on in Russia. I think now that the Russian government probably financed our entire romance because he paid for so much of it with this Russian credit card. And I think he was probably using the Russian grant money because in court just now, he was just in Sweden on trial, and his attorney claims he's broke, So, I mean, this was only 7 years ago. How do you go broke in 7 years? So, yeah, I think probably he was using money that was meant to be used on a clinical trial, which is disgusting. As is everything else.
By the way, here's how you go broke. You have a wife, a girlfriend, and a fiance at the same time. That's how you go broke.
And more. And more, sure. Yeah.
Can they ever find out if that is true, that the Russian grant money?
Which obviously is illegal.
It's just a theory on my part. I know that grant was, we're talking millions. That grant was very, very lucrative. And he used that Russian credit card so much. I'm sure I'm right. I don't have proof, but I'm sure I am.
I have a feeling you're absolutely right on that.
Okay, so this thing, you eventually get engaged. Everything is completely over the top. And then you have to start reaching into your wallet, which is a little bit weird, right? He makes you pay for the invitations. But he demanded that these had a...
And dress
and the dress and things like that, right? So, but because he wanted to take over the planning of the wedding, which most guys don't do.
Right.
But again, this is something that he was going to do better than anyone's done in the history of the planet. So I guess what are you going to say? I mean, go for it, right?
Well, I think he was looking for outs too, right? Every kind of out he had, he knew that by him planning the wedding, any question, he always had the out of saying, "Don't ask me anything. I'm taking care of you. I love you."
Exactly. No, exactly. It was, in hindsight, it was very clever, very strategic. He had this whole thing about how he wanted to surprise me with everything, and I was very busy at the time at work. And he said, I just want you, just don't do anything. And also it was going to be in Italy, and I'm here in the US. So he said, I want to plan everything and I want to surprise you. So you can't ask me any questions. And I struggled with that. I'm a control freak. I'm a journalist, right? I'm a producer. And also what woman doesn't want to plan her own wedding? But all my friends said, Benita, for once, just step back, let somebody take care of you. He has impeccable taste, it'll be amazing. Like, just do what he says, it's romantic. Everybody thought it was so romantic. So I agreed. And so the only things he wanted me to do was he wanted me to buy my dresses because he didn't want to see them before the wedding, which made sense. And he said, I'll pay you back later. I had no reason to believe he wouldn't pay me back. And the invitations, he just was like, I can't deal with that. I don't know what to pick. You pick. But we went back and forth. I showed him the invitations and everything. So, and I paid for those just because it was in the US and he was going to pay me back. So I was into it about 50 grand, maybe once you add other things, somewhere between 50 and 70 grand.
Yeah. And so this is what I find interesting. It's another opinion by me. Do you think that, Paolo at one point in his life, he's got his first operate when he becomes a surgeon, that he is just a regular guy, probably a playboy, regular guy, but at some point he probably got a press story and he starts believing his own hype, And
Yes.
more and more of the hype made him become this, hey, I notice people like me more. Oh, I can get that woman
Yes.
and that woman. So my hype. And he fell in love, like you said, like his ego, but it got out of control because of all these positive stories. And he was on that roller coaster, and it's not going to stop.
100%. I think that's exactly what happened. I think he's a narcissist to the core. And I think he the same way when I was talking about, he loved the fact that I adored him. It was the adoration that was feeding him. So now, he's getting all this worldwide press attention. He's the pioneer. He's the risk taker. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. And his worst fear, and he used to say that to me all the time, was that his career would be decimated, that he would be publicly tarnished, which has now come true, his worst nightmare. But yeah, I think he just fell in love with the attention, and he started,
Sure.
skipping all the vital steps that are supposed to happen. And he was just on this rush, and all the attention was feeding this ego, and he didn't give a fuck about who got hurt in the process.
Nah.
He knew his end was he knew. That's exactly why he felt that way. He knew he was living a lie. And he lied about everything. He knew that at one point this lie is going to catch up to me, and he's going to be ruined. Like I said, it's interesting to find out. What I find interesting also is, did you ever reach out to, was it 3 other wives, correct? Or 3 others that, what those women, do they know each other? Do they know it's like normal for, oh, he's Italian. He's going to have have other wives. Did you ever meet them?
So when I met him, he told me, I knew he was separated from his wife. He had a longtime wife. They had 2 kids who were in their late teens at the time, and they had been separated for many years. He lived in Barcelona, she lived in Italy, and because they're Catholic and it's complicated, his story to me was that they never got divorced because he just was basically a pain in the butt, which made sense. I tried to reach out to her once. She's disappeared. She's even kind of disappeared from the internet. So I think she's just trying to stay away from all of this. And then in Barcelona, in the house where we were supposed to be moving after the wedding, where, I quit my job, pulled my daughter out of her very difficult to get into New York private school, and thought we were riding off into the sunset together. When I went to that house in Barcelona, I found a third family. So a whole nother woman and 2 little kids. I don't know if he was married to that woman or not, but he had been living with her for some time. And then there's another woman that came forward to me that I did talk to that had a baby with him who was born in the middle of our relationship. And I've just kept her confidential because she asked me to, and I just, mom to mom, I would never reveal her identity. I really feel for her. I think, thank God I didn't have a child with him, which is interesting because he really wanted to. He was really pushing me to have a baby. So I don't know if that's part of the whole MO,
Right. Then he thinks he's really got you. Right. He's a narcissist. He's a sociopath, and he's got a God complex. Right. I mean, I think you could even take it one level further. And then he should be a screenwriter in Hollywood, because the crap that he made up was just unbelievable. Although he'd probably get laughed out of a conference room if he pitched some of this stuff.
I know, because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Such as, I'll give you a few. The Pope is going to marry us. Number 1.
I know.
Elton John is going to be there. John Legend is going to play me a song on the piano. The Clintons are going to be there. Oprah. I mean, you had to be writing out these invitations going, oh my God, am I really spelling these names?
Not only Benita, but every one of your friends have got to be going, oh, I'm going to this wedding. It's going to be a power.
People didn't really know. But okay, so listen, I understand when you hear, okay, she thought the Pope was marrying her. I totally get why people go, oh, please give me a break. Like, come on, is she really that stupid? But it's just not that simple. Remember, he's Italian, right? And he's a very prestigious cardiothoracic surgeon. He had done work at the Vatican, he said. I had seen paperwork from other doctors talking about work he'd done at the Vatican. He said he had done work on the who did have some issues with his trachea. So that actually made sense. And he claimed, long story short, he wanted this big Catholic wedding. I'm not Catholic. And I said, how the hell are we going to do that? We're both divorced, or so I thought. I'm not even Catholic. And he's, oh, let me take care of it. He spent months. So this trickles out really slowly. He spends months, supposedly, going to different churches in Italy. And he keeps telling me they won't marry us. And I said, well, what are we going to do? And he said, no, I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't care where we got married. I would have got married in Vegas, on a beach. I really didn't care. And then he said, I'm going to go to Rome and I'm going to talk to my contacts there. And I was like, what the hell? He claimed he was going to the Vatican to ask for help finding a priest that would marry us, which made sense, right?
Yeah.
He comes out of that meeting and tells me, "You're not going to believe this. I've got great news. They're going to help us. And by the way, the Pope offered to marry us himself." I called bullshit on him. I started laughing. I'm like, "Oh, come on, give me a effing break, you know?" And I said, the Pope doesn't marry people. But then when I actually hung up on him. And then when I Googled it, the Pope actually does marry people. The people don't think he does, but he does. He had just a month before that married like 20 couples in the Vatican who were quote unquote living in sin. So gays, divorcees. So it seemed plausible.
Right.
And then Paolo's reason, and he's very convincing, remember, was that the Pope wanted to thank him for the work he'd done at the Vatican, and that he had been privately the Pope's private personal doctor. And the Pope wanted to do this as a gesture of thanks. And also because the Pope is so forward thinking, you know, this very progressive Pope, that we were kind of like the ideal poster couple to help him push the church forward and start allowing divorcees to get married in the church. So it was presented to me as almost an obligation. Like, we have this chance to help open the doors of the Catholic Church.
Right.
And because you're attached to me now, you need to do this, you know? So that's how it happened. So it wasn't just like he woke up one day and just went, "Hey, the Pope's going to marry us." And I said, "Okay."
You should have tried to one up him and said, "Listen, Paolo, I got Elvis in our wedding. We're going to Vegas. I can get Elvis.
I got him to
Matter of fact, I can get 50 Elvis hits."
Well, no, Paolo
Yeah.
probably said, "Let me raise Elvis from the dead."
Yeah.
Well, listen, I mean, that's what, so it starts with the Pope, right? But then because the Pope is marrying us, and I was the one that said, "Do you understand how huge this is? It's going to be a huge news story, like, you know, worldwide coverage. This is huge, you know." And then he starts adding, because the Pope is marrying us. The first one was Andrea Bocelli was going to sing in the church because his mother and Andrea Bocelli's mother supposedly are friends. They live in the same town in near Florence. And then it was every month there was a new one. Oh, you know, I asked John Legend, because the Pope is marrying us. I asked John Legend if he would, you know, perform, which, you know, look, you can pay people like that to perform at weddings. That's not out of the question.
And I think that every time he mentions the name and you get more excited, he likes that. So he tries to think of more names like, "Oh boy, I really got it. I'm going to say, now I'm going to drop this name." Yeah. And
that's literally how it happened. It was like he would come visit, and every month it was a new person.
But Benita, don't you wish you knew Cato 7 or 8 years ago?
Yeah.
He had this all figured out.
I had it all figured out. Here's another thing that just drove me crazy watching this, of almost in tears, knowing that he's going into surgery. He goes into a surgery knowing, for lack of better words, committing murder. He knows something that's not, he is going into a surgery or something that he knows probably won't work. And it puts these people in this pain that everybody that had it was in tremendous pain, that they wanted to die. And that he's saying they had this problem before. It's not because of this. It just, like I said, sociopath, knowing that he's denying everything. And it was a
death sentence. That's what he carried with him, basically.
Well, I mean,
he knew it.
This is what's so appalling. I mean, forget what happened to me. You know, I mean, he literally lied to me about everything. I mean, he wasn't really divorced. He never could have married me in the first place. He had this whole other family in this house in Barcelona. Nothing, and I mean nothing, about the wedding was true. You know, he didn't know any of these damn people. He sure as hell is not the Pope's private personal doctor. You know, none of these people ever got their invitations. None of them were coming. And he let it go so far. We had 300 plus guests coming from all over the world who bought plane tickets and fancy red carpet attire for all these events. There were like, it was a 4-day weekend of all these events. You know, he let it go that far because he didn't care. I mean, it was devastating, and it was humiliating as hell. I mean, it was so embarrassing. And I wanted to crawl up in a ball and, you know, stay there. But my immediate thought was, shit, if he's lying to me like this, there's no way in hell he's not lying in his medical life, right? I didn't have evidence of that at the time, but I thought, and that was terrifying, because I thought what you're saying, I thought, you know, people are in danger. People could be dying. And that's why I went public. And that's what it turned out, you know. And after I went public, a scathing documentary comes out in Sweden, which reveals all the medical lies. So it was the combination of the personal and the medical that just brought the whole house of cards tumbling down. But he used his patients as human guinea pigs. He put this damn plastic tube into them with absolutely no proof that it works. You know, he never did any experiments in animals. There's no evidence whatsoever that this damn thing would work. And then when he puts it in and the patients start not doing well, he's lying. He's lying publicly, saying it's working beautifully, and it's not. They're suffering. This thing is rotting inside their throats. I mean, the way the families describe what was happening to these patients is so disturbing. This thing is rotting. It smells. It smells like rotting flesh. It's like he took this can and shoved it in their throat. He might as well have, you know. And that's why he's facing criminal charges.
So how did you in this documentary did you interview you went with a private detective, and this private detective you hired, did he go out to Italy to?
No, when this first happened, I obviously immediately put my journalist hat back on and went into hyper investigative mode, which I'm sure he wasn't counting on. And I realized I had so much stuff. I had saved every text, he ever sent me. And he was weirdly always videotaping me, like he was documenting everything, like documenting his own demise in hindsight, which is so weird that I had all this personal archive. And then I hired a private investigator just because clearly I'm so personally attached. I wanted to make sure I was, seeing clearly, basically. But he wasn't from the US, wasn't able to find out all that much in Europe because the privacy laws in Europe are much more stringent than they are here. And so I decided to go to Europe and do my own investigating. And I did get a second private investigator there just to check on paperwork kind of stuff. Like he confirmed that he was still married. He confirmed that officially through the Vatican that they'd never heard of Paolo, or not that they'd never heard of him, but he wasn't
had no relationship with him.
Fucking private doctor.
I think one of the other ways he was able to get away with this is you two didn't live in the same city. So he could swoop in there and he could go live his life. And I don't know how he juggled all the lies. He had like 6 or 7 phones that he carried around with him because he spoke 6 or 7. I mean, can you imagine waking up and having to keep he must have had one hell of a spreadsheet. I told her this last week, but now I have to tell her this. I mean, it was incredible.
Right?
When you come up with all the things he did, and the guy's a grade A creep and then some. The one that really bothered me, I mean, that all bothered me, but he was telling you that he was taking tango lessons or dancing lessons because he wanted to be able to dance with you at your wedding. And he's sending you videos from the dance studio in Russia. And meanwhile, he's doing it with another woman. Right? Either a woman he was married to or wooing or doing whatever.
Probably another one.
And I think of him sending you those videos, and I'm going, what an ass. Unbelievable.
Well, the dance lessons and also the piano. He claimed he was going to play piano for me at the wedding and surprised me that he'd played as a kid and he was relearning the piano. So he's also taking piano lessons in Russia. And I got him a keyboard here so that he could practice here, and he would play with his headphones on. So I couldn't hear him because it was a surprise, another surprise. And after all this happened, I sold the keyboard to a woman who's now actually one of my best friends. I'm actually her baby's godmother. But she, about 3 months after she bought this keyboard from me, she says, Benita, I have to tell you something. And she's got this look on her face. I'm like, what the hell? She said, that piano can play itself. Oh. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, it has pre-recorded music on it. I'm like, you gotta be effing kidding me. That's a lie too. So I went back, and one time I had come around the corner and videotaped him playing the piano, and I had kind of tiptoed backwards because I wasn't supposed to be listening or watching. And I had never paid attention to before, but at the very end of this video, he lifts his damn hands off the keyboard and he's dusting the top of the piano, and it's still playing.
He's also a bad actor.
Thank God you didn't marry him, because
add that to the list.
He'd go, you're going to love this song. I made it up. It's called Chopsticks.
Oh my God. I give you so much credit because you've gone all in on this, and you almost had to because you resigned. You had a great job. I don't know if you worked for Dateline or one of the shows, but you were a top investigative journalist. Yeah. I mean, you don't get much better in investigative journalism than Dateline as a producer, 17 years, and you gave that up. But I love how you went all in on this. And have you turned this into a business? I'm sure you've been able to monetize this, but now I'm sure people are reaching out to you that have been conned by other men, and they want to cry on your shoulder, but maybe they want you to do that story as well.
Yeah, your misfortune hopefully became fortune.
Yeah, it wasn't, initially my only goal was to expose him, and it wasn't even about vengeance or anything. I just wanted the world to know who this man really is. I mean, I kind of wanted to put it out there. And I thought at the time I might be the only person that had the means and to do that. I didn't know, that they were already investigating him in Sweden. And I just wanted the world,
sure.
This guy's a dangerous.
It had to be therapeutic for you as well. I mean, let me get the real truth out there so people can understand how this happened, right?
Right. But then what surprised me is I go public and all these women start reaching out to me from all over the world and they're thanking me, which was surprising and humbling. And they're thanking me for being brave enough and courageous enough to tell my own story in such raw detail, but also thanking me for making them feel less alone and less stupid. And so many of these come in, hundreds and hundreds. And I realize this happens, first of all, way more than we think it does. And we really need to talk about it because women are shamed into silence. You know, there's so much victim shaming. You know, people point the finger at the woman and say, well, how could you be so stupid? Instead of at the damn con man, who's the one who's lying about everything. And then they count on us not talking about it, right? It's embarrassing to talk about. So if we don't talk about it, this perpetuates, this keeps going. And so I've developed this whole platform now about ending victim shaming and empowering women and helping other women, which has been very rewarding, actually. And I didn't see this coming and I didn't see my life going this way, but it's kind of made sense in some way.
Yeah, I think also what women would relate to, and well, not just women, but I just think it was the part, and maybe you hear the most about when you bought the wig, you're in the car, you're in Italy, and it's cathartic for you to do this, painful. Yet you laugh because it's crazy. You've got a wig on. You're in the car with your friends, and you go knock on the door.
Yeah.
And it's. I think so many people can relate that you went that far, and that's what everybody else would have done. So they're living vicariously through you, and maybe something's bad in their life, and you go that one extra step with the wig, the car, the knock on the door, the bottle of wine, which he throws out. He throws out, by the way, not because he didn't like the wine. He can't explain to the woman he's living with in the house, like, who just dropped off that wine? Yeah. So it's that part I think so many people relate to.
Yeah, I think because I was, you know, so much was at stake. I gave up everything for this man, you know, everything. I never thought I'd do that for anyone. You know, I never would have done that for anyone. And it was so heartbreaking and humiliating and everything. But I was so determined to A, expose him, but also B, not let him take me down. You know, I mean, I just had this fierce determination from the beginning, like, oh no, you're not, you know, every time I would fall on the ground in tears, I'd pick myself right up. I'm like, no, you don't get to do that to me too. So yeah, I wanted to, and that's why I wanted to go to Italy myself and go to Europe myself. I knew something was hiding in this house in Barcelona because he had flown me all over the world. Literally, we took so many trips, but every single time we were supposed to go to Barcelona, which is where he lived and where we were supposed to live after the wedding, there was a last minute emergency surgery. I mean, so many times, like I was on the way to the airport one time. Oh my God, I have an emergency surgery, you know, and we have been arguing about this for months before I found out about everything, because I said, who marries a man without seeing the house where they're going to live?
Yeah.
So
except in the video he sent you.
Yeah.
He sent me videos, but he probably sent that same video to 10 other women.
Yeah, his wife was at the drugstore that day or something, or shopping for groceries, so he was able to do it.
Did he ever do surgeries that were successful? Not just tracheotomy. It was a tracheotomy, right? Did he start his career started that he had to have surgeries that he was successful on to get to be a super surgeon? So at one point he had to have been successful, right?
So he, you know, a lot of doctors that I've spoken to say he's a very skilled surgeon, which is tragic, actually, you know. But people also say he's a very dangerous risk taker. You know, he's very good when things are going okay, but once things start going wrong in the operating room, he steps back and starts bitching and complaining and lets other people take over. So I don't know how good he really is. There are some lies on his CV. When the Vanity Fair article came out, they uncovered all these lies in his CV. So, you know, how much of it is true, how much isn't, I don't know, you know, and I sometimes I wonder, you know, did he teach himself to do surgery? Did he learn on YouTube? God. You know, I don't even know.
He's a world-class salesman is what he is. And he's able to fool a lot of very, very intelligent people along the way. He had spinning plates. That was his life. A house of cards. That one little mistake was going to make it all come tumbling down. What was the one lie? What was the one thing that maybe got you thinking this is not real, or that started the chain of events that exposed him?
Well, clearly, I mean, even though he was surprising me about everything, as the date's getting closer and closer, we're arguing a lot because I'm pummeling him with questions. You know, when am I going to the house in Barcelona? When am I going to meet your children? I hadn't met them yet. I don't want to meet them at the wedding. when am I going to meet these celebrities that you're supposedly friends with that are, like Bill Clinton was supposed to be reading the thing that started our whole big wedding dance. I'm like, Clinton's right here in New York, One day we were supposed to meet him for lunch. It gets canceled at the last minute. So, and then I wanted to talk to the wedding planner. I said, okay, I know, oh, you can't talk to her. She's Maria, the wedding planner. And there was something nagging at my gut, like there were too many things that didn't make sense. But, when you're in love, unfortunately, you are a little bit blind, and things had gone so far at that point that I didn't, my head and my heart didn't go together. I didn't want to believe it, I don't think. And also it was so difficult to wrap your head around the fact that this man who works at the place that awards the Nobel Prize in Medicine and has all these accolades, it just didn't make sense. Every time I would think something doesn't add up, I'd think, no, he can't be lying. Why would he lie? And like I said, he wasn't taking money from me. But the thing that finally pushed it over the edge was I found out that the Pope was not even going to be in Italy on our wedding date. He had a trip planned to South America that had been planned for a very long time. And the minute I found that out, I just knew, I didn't even need to know anything else. I felt like I got punched in the stomach. And in that instant, I thought he's lying. He's lying about everything, and then it was just a matter of unraveling it all.
Did you ever bring up that point to him saying, hey, the Pope's not even in town for our wedding?
Oh yeah. And he immediately, he's such a good actor. Oh my God, I just found this out too. I'm going to fly to Rome tomorrow and get to the bottom of this. And he claimed it was all internal Vatican politics because the previous Pope, who's still alive, is very, very conservative. In fact, we had not invited him to the wedding because he didn't approve, according to Paolo, of the Pope, marrying 2 divorcees. So he claimed he had meddled, that he was so upset about the Pope marrying 2 divorcees, that he had meddled and made it so that the Pope, had to be in South America, and that it was all this internal conflict, which sort of made sense, but I didn't believe him.
Right. At that point, you knew it was all game.
It's a conservative. Yeah. It's like you can have communion now. The wafer actually comes with the soup and a salad bar. So things are a little different now in the Catholic Church.
All right. So for people that are wondering, okay, whatever happened to this guy? Was he ever held accountable? He did face some criminal charges very, very recently, and he's not in prison, which is not good. But there was a trial in Sweden. There's going to be another one. I guess my question is, why can't a bunch of other countries file charges against him as well? Can that still happen?
Well, it has to do with the families as well, right? The families have to want to. And I think it's so painful for some of these families. They just want it to go away. I mean, it's bad enough that they lost a loved one, but then because these people sought him out, that's how a lot of people would find Dr. Macchiarini, is doing a Google search. And if you seek out someone to help your dying loved one, and then come to find out that this person that you thought was the hero that's going to rush in and save the day is a complete fraud and con artist, I can't even imagine how painful that is, and how, I think it's just too much for the families. So
sure.
He was on trial in Sweden. I was there for a month from the end of April to the end of May on charges of aggravated assault in connection with the 3 patients that were operated on in Sweden, including the only American, Christopher Lyles, to get one of these transplants. And they found him guilty only of 1 count of bodily harm. So he got no prison time, nothing, no fines. He's basically on probation for 2 years. But the prosecution has already appealed, and they're being really strident about it. They want, they said they want him behind bars. They want jail time, and that he did illegal human experiments, basically.
Yeah, they're aggressive. They're going after him.
And you were probably right about the credit card being from Russia, because I think that's the only place that he can practice, and not even legally, correct?
Well, so this is another question. His medical license has not been taken away because it's up to each country. So if a country lets him operate, he can still operate.
And that's in Russia.
I mean, I don't know I don't know why anybody would let him touch them, but I mean, I guess if you're got your head in the sand and you haven't,
Well, I imagine the people that would let him operate on them are people that don't know your story. I think people that don't, whoever doesn't know the story of, and doesn't do their due diligence of finding out before surgery who my doctor is, then they're going to have the surgery.
But this has become so big now. I don't know how he can get away with it anymore.
Not now. Yeah.
There's got to be a part of you that never wants to talk to him again, never want to see him. But there's also got to be a part of you, the journalist, that thinking, let me interview him. Let me, from across a camera, just talk to him and try to get inside his head. Now that you know his tricks, maybe you can have a little manipulation of him and just let him try to explain some of this to see if he starts burying himself again and starts making up all this crap, or if he actually does come clean, because that'd be an amazing documentary as well.
Yeah.
The
Well, so I went to the trial and I was there working as a correspondent for the Dr. Death podcast.
Mm-hmm.
They did the third season of Dr. Death is about Dr. Macchiarini. And so they hired me to cover the trial. And so this was the first time I'd seen him in 7 years. So that first day in the courtroom was interesting, and we weren't sure if he was going to show up or not, but he was there every day and the trial lasted for a month. And this is a small courtroom and I'm in the front row. We have assigned seats and I'm right in the front. So he's like 10 feet in front of me every day. And I have to look at the asshole every day for a month. And it took him a few days. He wouldn't make eye contact with me at first. And sometimes I would just sit there staring at him like, come on, look at me.
You look like you're tough too. I mean, I could almost feel that if you're staring. There's no way he didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and he did a couple times make eye contact. And then it's so funny because I always thought if I saw him, I'd want to scream at him. I'd want to go, I ran through so many scenarios in my head. And after sitting there watching him for a month, I just thought, I got nothing to say to him.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could say now that would change anything. There's nothing that he would say that would be true. I had to sit in that courtroom and watch him lie. And it took everything in me not to jump over the glass partition and be like, come on, and they don't have character witnesses. It's so it's not Johnny Depp style there. It's so polite and it's like, oh.
I was just going to ask that what the court setting is like in the country, and were people aware of who you were?
Yes.
Was there an actual jury that knew who you were, that you were the one being conned as one of the
I assume so. I mean, I never talked to. They're not even called jurors. They're called lay judges. So they had 2 chair people, and then they have these 4 lay judges who are sort of the equivalent of a jury here, but it's so polite and proper. It's just very quiet and polite and proper. But outside the courtroom, as soon as the journalists realized who I was, they were in. I was being interviewed all the time by the Swedish journalists. So I'm sure the jurors, because they're still allowed to watch the news. I'm sure they knew who I was.
Did the Swedish prosecution team, did you see that they were actually doing their job? It looked like if he, got off and no penalty.
It was Marsha Clark. I mean, she's over
They
there
were-
now doing it.
Yeah, Marsha Clark did the case? Oh, you're kidding me.
How
did
was
I
he not
know?
behind bars? It must have been her. Yeah.
They were, if you were listening, you would think it was a slam dunk. I mean, there are these 4 whistleblower doctors and 3 of them testified. They're the ones that spent thousands of hours combing through all his, papers and documents. And they are as adamant as I am, to see this man go down. And their testimony was just riveting and so disturbing and so harsh. And then the Turkish girl, who's one of his patients, they played a audio tape of her. The first patient to ever get this artificial trachea, his wife came and testified. I was in tears when she testified. So, but the Swedish system is very careful. They can find one little thing, and just dismiss the whole case.
Boom.
So.
Well, plus he was sending about 500 pounds of rose petals to the jury every single day.
Oh, no. And then he got up and talked, and it made me sick, the whole, you could, that's when, because he was like kind of slumped over in court most of the time, looking all dejected. He had this crazy little Antonio Banderas style ponytail thing going on. I don't know what the hell that was. But then when he got up, you saw him like puff out his chest, and, he went into professor mode and talking about how all he ever wanted to do was save people. And, poor me, I've been silenced for 10 years. I'm like, oh, shut up,
Yeah, he became a victim.
Of course.
He goes, and he had said that no one knows what it's like to be vilified.
Exactly.
He's just, what a con artist. He makes me sick.
He's the definition of a narcissistic con artist.
Total. And, great title. He lied about everything. You probably had a few other options, but I love that one. He gets right to the point. Very, very succinct. Plug whatever you want. Seriously, I saw it on Hulu. I know the documentary is available on Amazon. And then you got the podcast series on Wonderly too. So people are going to want to hear more of this story. They want to have it unwind for them in order. So where do they go?
The easiest thing is to go to my social media, which is at Loveconned, LOVECONNED on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find links to everything there in my link tree to all the the podcasts, all the documentaries, and there's more stuff on the horizon that I can't talk about yet, but there's more stuff coming.
And that's where you update everybody too on TikTok and Instagram. So if you want to continue to follow this in real time, Benita's going to have that. By the way, you do a great job on TikTok. You adopted that very well. Very natural.
Wow.
Very entertaining.
I got rid of my TikTok today. I just
I
got rid of my TikTok today. It's a whole nother scandal, but the scandal is it's been proven true. The China is taking all of our information. I'm just putting it out there right now. So I was today delete.
Literally, that's it. Done.
I'm done completely, but I am on Instagram, and I'll follow you. Follow me.
And Cato's going to become a surgeon after today too, right?
Oh yeah.
Something.
Okay, I'll be right there.
All right. Hey, when you come to LA, we're going to take you out. Look us up.
I work on broken hearts. Nothing painful. It's very painless.
Hey, Benita, any other scandals you want to give us some tips on? That's our show. Anything else you're working on?
At the moment, no. I'm still doing everything in connection with this
Right
at the
on.
moment. And then I do a bunch of true crime stuff, but the routine true crime that everybody loves,
Yeah, no doubt. It's the hottest thing there is. So you're an entrepreneur now as well, not just working for a network.
And then I freelance still as a showrunner, executive producer.
Great.
And I do a lot of stuff, mostly for Discovery. But
how about a book? Is there a book, or is the story out too much now?
Everybody keeps asking me that lately. I had started it and then I kind of tabled it, but I think I'll go back to it. Even in Sweden, they were like, when are you writing a book? When are you writing a book? So
call me. I know everybody in the publishing world that matter, at least ones that can help get this thing done. And
I'm surprised also that I don't know if our paths ever crossed, because I've done Dateline. I've done so many different shows, but I don't know if that's.
I remember when I didn't work on it, but yeah. I remember when they were doing the story.
I became friends with almost every
producer,
network,
because they were the ones.
Everybody, I just and still got on my refrigerator the letters of everybody thanking me, and I thank them. That's also.
Great. Yeah, they're great. They're really great people there. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's a classic show. I remember Stone Phillips.
It's like
when he was doing.
Stone, I love Stone so much. Yeah.
I was around there when Oprah was. They said that she was up for the Nobel Peace Prize, but she got excited because she thought they said cheese fries. That's just me, though. I just no, it's cheese fries, Oprah.
Not peace fries.
Don't. It's no, it's cheese fries. What? Oh, Benita, I've got a million of them.
Oh, Benita, hang out with us, and you'll hear a few more, and they're all good. They're all good. The one-liners from Cato.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's stay in touch. Great job describing everything.
You.
This isn't easy to describe, but I think you did a good job as far as telling the story and hearing it from your words. But go get the rest of the story.
There's so much to it. You kind of have to watch the whole thing.
And you will not be able to take your eyes off.
I second that. People should watch this. Benita, thanks for being on 1 Degree of Scandalous. And sorry about the scandal you went through, but you've helped so many others because of what you went through.
And probably save some lives too. So, hey, great job.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
the rest of the day.
And good luck with the show, guys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Awesome.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. All right. So, you look at a story that's this big and this layered, and we walked through it pretty well. I think if you've never heard of the story, I think you got a great idea of what it's about. I mean, where do you start with this thing?
Like I said, it's incredible. And I think that also, you better know who you're dating, or you better know who, when you're in a courtship, due diligence. It's all that. It's the old it's the old Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
Can you imagine how many other people are probably in situations, maybe not this dramatic, but with someone maybe that doesn't live in the same state and is just telling them, a pile of lies and getting them to believe it. It's probably more common than we think.
Listen, I just married someone from China. I'm going to look into that tonight.
Well, she might be doing the same thing. You never know.
I've got to look into this. No, I checked it out. Everything with her is phenomenal.
Well, she's such a sweetheart.
Shengyi is, and it's a traditional Chinese name, and I checked that out. Do you know what Shengyi actually means?
No.
In English translation?
No.
Patient zero. I'm kidding.
Did not know that.
I did not know, but what a great show. And Tom, always good to see you on 1 Degree of Scandalous.
Okay, so hey, everybody, download, subscribe, follow us every single week. New episodes on Wednesday. Follow us on social media. Cato, I was following your trip to Iowa. Very, very entertaining on Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, yeah. And
were you a little nervous getting back? Were you thinking it might not happen on that American flight as you're sitting in Dallas?
Well, the thing is, I was kind of making a joke to you going, hey, Tom, sorry to say this, but everything is on time for me. And I'm boarding the plane. Here's the thing I don't get. I'm on American Airlines. We boarded, my layover's in Dallas. It's going to be a little bit late. We get on the plane, and they put us on the plane knowing they had no pilot. And we stayed on that for 2 hours. and it was about 100 degrees in at that time in Dallas, and the plane was hot, and I was so annoyed that why would anybody be put on a plane? And then I just saw that 2 or 3 days ago, the company that I'm flying out to Massachusetts for, I said, don't book American, that they had some kind of glitch that none of their pilots are scheduled for the entire month of July.
Yeah, that's great if you're making travel plans, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, I did a little research on your plane when you were telling me, because there was a pilot named Paolo Macchiarini who said he was a world famous pilot. All right. He had flown in World War II. He had 476 kills. But then they discovered he wasn't a real pilot. They booted his ass out
I think
of there.
that happened in Ukraine too with that.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching episode number 7 in the can, 1 Degree of Scandalous with Kato Kalin and Tom Zenner. We will catch you every single Wednesday. Have a great week.